You're listening to the Salty Sex Cast with Mariah and friends. Minimize the fear. Expand your awareness.
Hello, all you wonderful, sexy souls. It's Mariah with the Salty Sex Cast, recording from Utah, but I'm in Zoom today because my guest is not from Utah. And so I'm so excited to introduce you to Dr. Soum, who is the CEO and co-founder of MysteryVibe, which is an award-winning sexual health company. And we're going to explore some topics today, but Dr. Soum, please introduce yourself. Anything that our audience should know about you?
Thanks so much for having me, Mariah. I love being on podcasts because the core of what we do at MysteryVibe is get conversation started on how do you bring that mystery back into the bedroom if that's missing, or how do you spice it up even more if it's there. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Wow, thank you so much for joining me. So we were chatting a little bit about your background before we started recording, and very interesting that you still are a biomedical electrical engineer, but use that and kind of moved towards creating medical devices, and I'm going to quote on that, that are really just sexual wellness, toys, sex toys, but with the idea of that they are there for many different reasons. So tell me, what are some of the products that you make and the reasons that you started this?
Yes, and it's true. So when I started my undergrad and then PhD, I focused on biomedical. And at that time, my focus was eyes, working with ophthalmologists, eye doctors, building security systems which look at iris and recognize people for airports, access control, etc. So it's not different to what we do now, which is work with urologists and OBGYNs and sexual health practitioners to build devices for a different part of the body, genitals. And the idea is, how can we deliver precise vibrations at precise points to create blood flow? So that could be to alleviate pain, like postnatal pain in vagina, vulvar pain, pain during or after menopause, equally for things like erection, where it is very much to do with blood flow, increasing blood to the penis, holding that blood, improving prostate related issues through prostate massage. So very much all of the devices we design do one simple thing, which is adapt to your body shape, whatever that body shape is, whatever your gender is, adapt to that body shape. It's bendable devices, and they deliver very precise vibrations in very precise waveforms that work for you. And that's key, because what will work for one person in shape and vibration will not work for another person. So that's really the core of our design principle, the core of what we build. And all of our products, there's 3 at the moment in the market and 4 which are in the labs coming out in a few months. So 7, all our 7 devices are very much driven by how can we deliver precise vibrations at precise points.
Yeah, I mean, even my little quick search on your website, I was like, what are these? They look from from an alien planet. They're very different shaped, but you said that they're designed for very specific things that we're not maybe tapping into or even aware of. When I go purchase a sex toy, I'm not thinking of, I want to increase blood flow because of, pain or even period pain, cramping, anything like that. I'm not thinking about that when I'm buying these things, but that's specifically why some of those toys have been designed.
Correct. And the interesting thing is, often pleasure is hindered by pain or sexual health issues. So even if the ultimate goal is to increase pleasure, what we have to do is remove the barriers, like pain, like dryness, like erection issues. So our end goal is still, more fun, more mystery, more pleasure. And we think, what are all the life events? That's step 1. Life events like childbirth, menopause, prostate cancer, surgery,
Mm.
chemotherapy. These are major life events, and 100% of people will suffer one or more, right? And then doesn't have to be suffering. Yeah, of course, cancer is suffering, but menopause is inevitable. It does have pain and dryness related to that, but it is just life. And then pregnancy is happy event, but comes with pain during childbirth and postnatal.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these life events, whether they're natural, like menopause, or rare in some cases, like certain cancers, all of them affect sexual health.
Yeah.
And the goal for us is, how can we help first recover from that major life event, and then get back to feeling sexy again, feeling like you have a normal bedroom again, which often is a challenge, which anyone who's had kids will know, anyone who's gone through menopause will know, is a challenge that it's not immediate. You can't just get back to it naturally without some help.
Not at all.
So that's where we that's the whole point of MysteryVibe, is bringing that mystery back into the bedroom.
Back in the bedroom, and that I'm deserving of that. Not just that I get to heal from this life-altering event, or finally get used to living with that change or even pain.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I get to, and I deserve to have pleasure and
Mm-hmm.
a relationship with my sexuality. That is beautiful. Yes. Just that mission alone is really, really wonderful. And I'm so excited that we, have found you and we get to talk about this today. But so some of these medical, or I'm going to call them medical devices, but they aren't. They're sex toys, right? They're both.
They're both. So they are all our devices. All 6 of them are FDA Class 2 devices, and they're all designed by doctors. They go through medical studies. So they're normal, typical medical device as it would be. The only difference is we try not to talk about them in a clinical way. And the reason for that is most people who suffer from some sexual health issue don't want to talk about it, whether it's erection difficulties, pain, dryness. Mm-hmm. So if we say, hey, look, this is a product which will solve this problem, 80% of the people might say, oh, I don't have that problem, even if they do. So instead, what we say is, if you use this product, you can improve your sex life, which is also true, but it's a different way to present the same thing. So that's why, even though they are medical devices like any typical medical device would be, and go through the same regulations, go through the same quality control, etc. But what we try to avoid is make them look clinical, make them sound clinical, which is fine. If you go to a urologist and they recommend one of our devices, then they will talk about it clinically, but that's their 20%. The 80% will still come to our site and talk about pleasure.
Yeah.
So that's the mixture. Yeah, between the medical.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, because if you get too clinical, it's taking away the mystery, it's taking away the excitement. Yes. Or the even at this being a sexual educational, I mean, we're really centered around bringing education and everything podcast. I still have lots of fun, because if I was too educational and dry and things, no one wants to listen to that, right? Yeah. We want to have pleasure. Yeah. We want to have fun along the way. But what I love,
and there's another really important point, which is what we often find is a lot of our customers buy it as a gift for their partners. And because it's presented as a pleasure-centric device, it's very easy to bring it as a gift into the bedroom, which then leads to conversations and fun. But had it been purely clinical, like, if I give you an example of a dilator, and let's say you buy a box of 5 plastic or steel dilators, one, they look very clinical, 2, it is just not something a partner would gift. It is really not suitable as a gift item.
Appropriate. Yeah, it would be, I would start thinking, oh no,
challenge.
There's something wrong with me. Yeah.
Correct. Exactly. And if you think of the reverse, from a female to male perspective, gifting a guy something to help with erection without talking to him can be really traumatic. So whereas buying a product which says, oh, this is to put on the penis for labia vibrations, and buying it and saying, I bought this for my pleasure, I just have to put it on your penis, it's a totally different conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's talking about let's focus on what's going right and instead of what's
Mhm.
going wrong, the deficit. We
Yeah.
don't want to ever just like come in and typically when we do get to medical, just like you were saying, if someone has
Mhm.
to first admit something's not working the way that they're hoping, that doesn't feel great. But if it were just
Yeah.
turning up what works great or what's
Correct.
working, and that kind of spills over into the deficit,
Yeah.
we're all winning, right?
Exactly.
So,
And also the entry point is always, I got something to improve your pleasure in the bedroom, which
mhm.
is the best gift in the bedroom anyway. So
Yeah.
it's a very easy sell from one partner to the other. It's like, I found this, I did some research because I want to improve your pleasure,
Mhm.
and no one will say no to that.
Yeah. Well, and we're still kind of working through the stigma of that sex toys are really for kinky play and you have to be really, really, out there to have them in the bedroom, or where even the male the stigma is now it's competition in the bedroom,
Mhm.
but we're really working as a society to kind of change those viewpoints
Yeah,
and
totally.
paradigm shift, right?
Yeah,
But
I have a
I love
good
that.
example of that. So
Uh-huh.
last year we went to, like every year, we go to North American Menopause Society, which is the biggest conference in menopause in US, and a lot of maybe women in their 55s, that kind of age range, we were talking to, and they were just asking generally about dryness, and we said, oh, have you checked out lubes, the different kind of lubes? And they said, we know about lubes, but we always assume that's for kinky people. and
Mm.
and that very simple association meant they haven't tried what would literally be a $10 investment and make a massive difference to their sex life.
Mhm.
And then we explained that lubes are actually FDA class 1 product, and they have to go through all these regulations, and they are very much a medical product, a medical lubricant. And then they started to totally change their association from lube is kinky to lube is medical. And once they realized that lube is medical, I feel they gave themselves the permission to buy it and try it.
Yeah.
And
It's
that was the
so
only thing that was missing, is that
oh,
information. And it's
that
literally, and that's
click.
our goal, is how can we get information to people? Because once they know the simplicity of the solution, I think most people will take these solutions. There's just small barriers that they have to overcome.
Mhm. I mean, in Utah, me coming from Utah, there's a lot of other stigma just around sex in general. Let's not even talk about other toys and things, but we're getting there. We're having one conversation at a time. So I'm so glad that you're joining me for this conversation. It's really interesting that we highlight it. Start thinking of those types of things as wellness accessories, right?
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
sexual wellness accessories. Every bedroom should have some lube, every bedroom. And then once um, that paradigm shifts, I think it'll be a lot easier for people to have really great, pleasurable sex. So,
Yes, and it's such an interesting point. You only need to start with one. So I always, a lot of people ask me, who are the competitors? And I say
mm,
the reason it's not competitive in the world of sex and sex tech is because we only need to convince the user that they can benefit from any sexual wellness
mm,
product. It doesn't matter what it is, lube, toy, whatever. And because it's the gap between they don't believe they need it to they try one, and once they try one, whichever brand that is irrelevant. If they try it and they like it, that opens their mind to trying lots of different things. Right? It's
yes.
like food. If you find a really good restaurant, and before that you didn't really think that you should spend money on nice restaurants, but once you've tried it and you love it, you'll spend money on lots of different restaurants, right? And you'll have an amazing experience. So the restaurants are not competing with each other, because people will always try different ones. So I feel food and sex are so similar in that way. Once you figure out that a good lube, a good toy, a good accessory can
Mhm.
significantly improve your pleasure, your partner's pleasure, your together pleasure, you will try so many different things then.
Yeah. I love that you made the connection of like food and sex, because I make that one all the time, talking about how we shouldn't shame ourselves for having a sex drive. You know, we have hunger
Yeah.
pains, and that's just something we
Oh,
need to
it's so
survive.
fundamentally similar.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
if people stop eating, they'll die. If people stop having sex, they'll die within one generation.
Oh,
Right.
hey, I never even thought of
It's so
that one.
intrinsic. It's so
Yeah.
intrinsic. Like literally, if people stopped having sex, I mean, the entire Earth will be zero population within 100 years.
Wow. Yeah. Let's think about it that way. If we need to get there just to get that paradigm and that use that as our catalyst thought, let's do it. That's super fun. But talking about mystery. So you the company is called MysteryVibe because you're wanting to bring more mystery and fun and all of that into the bedroom. But what are some tips other than purchasing a new toy or a even anything like lube or anything? How else can people create more mystery in their sex lives in their bedroom?
So this is what we write about a lot, and all of the content is free and it's on our website mysteryvibe.com. So what we try to do is give people step by step, very simple, actionable content, right? So one example is, let's say the couple already has some amount of intimacy, frequency of sex, etc., and they want to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very big majority of couples, right? They have a certain amount of intimacy and they want to spice it up or increase it. So what we say is, find something that is quite simple, in terms of, like, don't go from just very straight vanilla sex once a week to 50 Shades of Grey. That's probably going to be tough. Something like, let's say you want to try erotic massage on each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very simple, not complicated at all, but you're not sure if your partner is up for it. The best way to kick that off is find an article about it in a reputable media outlet, New York Times, CNN, whatever, something reputable that both you and your partner approve. There will always be something, because every news media outlet loves writing about sex. That's works
just as much as they love to write about food, right?
Exactly. So that's easy. You find it, then you share it, and you say, oh, I found an interesting article. And that's a really important word, because you don't say I found a great article because you're saying you love it. You don't say you found a weird article because your partner might think of
judgment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You say, hey, this is interesting. And then you find out if the other person thinks it's cool. And if they do, then that's after
Green
that,
light.
the floodgates open, and it's really easy from there. So what we have tried to do is talk to our 100,000 customers and figure out what was it that helped them talk about it. It's very rare that they already have a super open conversation going on. That's not common. In majority, 90%, 95% are couples who obviously care about each other but don't really talk about their desires with each other. They might talk about it with their friends, but not with their husbands and wives. So that's what we and then we have lots of articles about step-by-step guide. Once you have decided you want to try something, what's the first step? First step is definitely not go for penetration. That's really not. And when you realize that's not the first step, it takes away the fear of stage fright, fear of performance, which often builds up over time. So and also when you both realize that penetrative sex doesn't have to be more than 5% of your intimacy or 2% of your intimacy, then that whole delivery, the need to deliver, goes away.
Perform.
Need to perform.
And even reaching climax, that's not a requirement.
Exactly.
It's not.
That's not a requirement. You could literally spend an hour being intimate, cuddling, kissing. That's it, right? That could be your Sunday afternoon couple time. It doesn't have to be anything else. But often most couples wouldn't even do that, right? And they think intimacy means penetrative sex, and then they're like, oh, we're not ready for that. Let's keep it for later, and then the later never comes. So whereas if you can separate all of these elements and they're like, oh, we just set aside an hour a week for intimacy, and doesn't matter what the intimacy is, then you will be intimate forever. And also, if you think of it, when you're 90, maybe that's all you want to do is just sit together and hold hands, and that's it, right?
Yeah, that's
And that
beautiful.
makes you happy, and that makes you connected. And it doesn't matter whether you're having sex or not. So, and I think the important part is, if someone is asexual in a very sexual world, and the funny thing is the world is sexual, but not many people are actually having sex. So in a very sexual world where not many people are actually having sex, people who are asexual feel like they're weird.
Yeah.
But in everything we do, we try to make it so that it is not prescriptive that you should feel sexy, or you should feel you want to have sex. If you don't want to have sex, that's totally fine. That's totally normal. And then then that's another conversation with your partner, right? And that's an equally valid conversation as someone who wants to have sex 10 times a day. Both are equally fine. It's just you need to have that connection with your partner, so you're at the same level.
Anything that you can get aligned on with your partner, right? And alignment is huge. Connection. And just like you were saying, doesn't have to be penetrative sex. It does not have to have a climax. It can just be some way to connect. I think that takes a lot of pressure.
The step that I mentioned, which applies to anything, could be something much more complex to bring about. So let's say, and we've had this question many, many times, is how do you introduce a third person into from a lust perspective, into a relationship, whichever gender, it doesn't matter. And the answer is still the same. Find something very authoritative written about it in a very reputable place, share it, and see what they say.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
The same logic applies to everything, because it's a very common thing. It's a really common question we get from one part of the couple is, how do I find out if my other half is interested?
Yeah. There's a book called More Than Two, and a website so if anyone is ever interested, that's a great place to start, reputable as well. But lots of themes that I'm sure you see that create those, floodgates, right? As soon as I introduce,
that's exactly,
as soon as I say this, now my partner or partners are very receptive to what's going on. So you said, I love the way that you brought in the article or whatever that was, without judgment, not saying, look at this is weird, but just saying, oh, this is interesting, which is so great, because it leaves room for your other partner to bring their own perspective in without you prejudging them. So then if they're like, no, not at all, I'm not interested, then they feel like they're disappointing you. Or if they're like, yes, totally. But I'm afraid that if I had shown that interest with my partner, they would judge me, kind of thing. So creating,
the biggest thing is most people don't talk about the desires with their partners in fear of rejection. And that's it. It's really as simple. It's very basic. It's nothing more complex than that. And if they're a little bit more advanced, what they can do is use some websites. There are websites where you list all your desires and your partner lists all their desires, and then gives you the common ones. So it doesn't tell you what the other person doesn't like, because that's the rejection bit. But they say, hey, look, these are the 20 things you have in common. And 90% of those they will have not guessed that their partner also likes. And that opens a completely new chapter in the relationship.
That's just a fun game to play.
Exactly, it's a fun game to play. So it's a very, very simple way, but it's like a step ahead because so I would still, talk about the article step.
Communication.
It's a very simple way to start. And then once you've started, like, hey, what else do we like? Let's find common things, and obviously ignore anything one person doesn't like. So then the rejection is gone. Yeah.
Rejection, and also that you're comfortable with boundaries too, and can I say no, or can I go explore? I don't know.
No, exactly. Very, very much so. Very much so. Exactly. Because it's impossible that your partner will like all the things you like. That's just not. It's like that'll be very
statistically
odd.
Yeah.
That'll be exactly statistically that'd be very odd that two completely separate humans have exactly the same desires. Like
I was gonna say it's not a human, it's a robot. Be very worried. So when did MysteryVibe start, or how long has that been around? And you said that there are some new products coming out soon. I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
We started 2014, so 8 years ago. Medical device is a very slow progress. It's so just to give an idea, one of the products we did, so we started working on it maybe 2016. Took us over 3 years because every year we built it and we obviously have to try it on a patient before we can release anything. If we tried it, it didn't work. It was the ED device, erectile dysfunction device. And the reason was, we obviously know now, but we didn't know back then, is we tried to aim for like 95% of the penis girth, 90%. And the problem is the last 10% is such big outliers that imagine a cock ring, which is too big, doesn't even touch the penis. And when it vibrates, it does nothing. So all the users were like, oh, this doesn't do anything for us. And we thought, hang on, we tried to fit 90%. Why doesn't it work? And we actually were trying to fit the outlier 10%. But this is the thing with medical devices is, you have to take it to a usable product for anyone to test it. Otherwise, it's not safe. And to get to a usable product, it's a lot of money and time. So
prototyping.
What that means
my goodness.
Yeah. So what that means is you often build a fully ready product to go to market, then test it, it doesn't work, then you go back to the drawing board and start again. So but what we've done is over the years, we built fundamental blocks, which makes now product development much quicker because we can reuse a lot of our existing tech to build new products. So the three which are in the market, Crescendo, Poco, and Tenutro, are for targeted vibrations for vagina, abdomen, and penis. And the next three coming out, one is specifically designed for labia, a full labia vibrator, which is designed by menopause doctors, but can be used by anyone who wants a very different type of stimulation, which is not clitoral, not G-spot, but it's a full labia, full vulva, and it's again bendable to adapt to that shape. The other one is a prostate stimulator for men, where it is as thin as one finger, and that's exactly what urologists do currently to massage the prostate to release secretions to reduce the chances of prostate cancer. And equally, it's very pleasurable. So, with everything we do, we obviously build it from a medical perspective, but we talk about it from a pleasure perspective. Is like, if you buy a toy, we say toy, if you buy this toy, you can reach your prostate by yourself just by inserting the toy and pleasuring yourself, have an amazing orgasmic prostate massage, right? So, and that's what someone will buy it for, because that is exciting. It's something they have never experienced before.
Yeah.
Whereas if I tell them, hey, you should do this so that you have less chances of prostate cancer, it's not that exciting. But that is
it is a bonus.
It is a bonus, exactly, and that's what a urologist will tell you. But and we might mention it, but that's not really a selling point for most people. Like, nah, that's not going to happen to me. That's another thing. Everyone thinks like, prostate cancer is for old men. It's never going to happen to me. Like, yes, you will eventually be old. Hopefully, you're not going to die before you turn old. So, and it's one of those things that happens to almost every man at some point. Like menopause happens to every woman at some point. So prostate cancer happens to almost every man at some point. However, if you have, and this is obviously anecdotal evidence, if you had regular prostate stimulation, you're much less likely to have prostate cancer.
Yeah, that's so neat to know. And just, I love, again, the marrying of pleasure focus, medical focus, and where they meet in the middle. So that's why, I'm always interested in the new things that are coming out, but the ones that have been tried and true by, reputable companies and that really know what they're talking about. I feel you on the prototyping. Man, that's got to take so long, and just back to square one, and having to have a really well-rounded product to even prototype and test on folks. So,
and it's one of those things where every time it doesn't work the first time, even now after 8 years and all this experience, every time it doesn't work the first time. So we just assume that it won't work the first time with every product. It just doesn't. Like if you think about it, even Apple, which is the biggest hardware company in the world, they have the most experience, the most money. Their first versions of any product is not that great. So I'm sure you remember when Apple Watch 1 came out, it was like, I think the battery died in a few hours.
Yeah.
Right. And like everyone said, oh my God, how bad is this thing? But that is a company with $1 trillion valuation. Back then it was 1 trillion, now it's 3 trillion, with as much money as they can throw at it. And still their first version was pretty bad. So I think that is true for any hardware, that the first version is never that great. So for us, the key is, and because it's medical, the difference is we don't release it. The first version never go out. So first version comes in, maybe, we'll try it with 20 people, very small trial, because that's enough to tell us it doesn't work. And then, we'll keep doing it, maybe third, fourth version. Then we'll try it with 1,000. And once 1,000 people have said, oh, it's good, then we'll release it. So which is why, we have, for example, the products I'm talking about, they're all ready, but we haven't released them yet. So we just want to keep trying with more people and then fine tuning it till we are very happy that, okay, now if we make tens of thousands as first production, it won't have many problems.
So how can we sign up to be product testers?
No, you can sign up, honestly, on our website, just contact us.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, that's so cool. And just to be able to see all of the work that you've done come to fruition. So I'm sure that's really exciting as well. I had another question, then it left me because I was really just teasing you about the product testing, but that's really cool if you can.
No, it's so how we started the very, very first time, because we obviously had no users when we launched our very first prototype. So we went to TechCrunch Disrupt, which used to be a big thing back in the day. If you've seen a funny series called Silicon Valley, there, it's all about going on stage at TechCrunch Disrupt and winning a prize.
Yes.
So this is, I don't think it's that well known now, but like 8 years ago when we started, the first thing we did was go to New York to talk about medical device in sex, which again, no one talked about sex things on TechCrunch Disrupt ever. Anyway, so we talked about it 8 years ago, and then that's how we got 1,000 people to pre-order our product for $99, each. And it's a really important point why we asked them to pay $99. It's enough money that you care about giving actual feedback, but it's not too much that you don't want to try it. So the reason we didn't, obviously we had doctors and stuff who got it for free, but this was 1,000 users who were from, I think, like 40, 50 different countries, because it was just press coverage. Press coverage got it out there, and people from Korea, Japan, everyone signed up. Right?
Oh, fun.
And we only could take 1,000 because that's all we were making. So we took the first 1,000 people, and they paid $99. And what we told them is, you will get 2 products. And obviously, we didn't make any money out of it. So you'll get 2 products. You'll get the first product, and then you will, give us as much feedback as you can. And then maybe 6 to 9 months later, because we literally have to rebuild the whole thing, you will get the final product. And and we're charging you $99 literally as a token amount, because we spend like $200-300 per person. So but it was such a useful thing, because once you've paid $99, you will check your emails, you're going to get the product, you will reply saying, oh, I love this, I hate this. And we got all the feedback we needed to make the first device. Before we had our big customer base that we have now. So that's how we
That's
came up
fun.
with this.
What a
We would call it
journey.
Pilot 1000.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
that's really cool.
I wrote a big article about it because we kind of, it came up with this idea, just thinking, how do you get a big trial? What,
Uh-huh.
would equivalent be a medical trial? So typically, you would go to a clinic or a
Mhm.
hospital and you'll say, I want a trial, but trials are generally 50 people, 100 people, maybe maximum 250 people. And even those cause hundreds of thousands. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to do a trial with 1,000 people, that's millions, literally
Whew.
millions,
Yeah.
right? So we thought, hang on, that is not possible. But to design a really decent product, you can't just have 20 people. There's not enough feedback. So that's why we came up with this concept of Pilot 1000, where you charge
Brilliant.
money, but a very little amount.
Uh-huh.
You get very good feedback, and you get the diversity of, you know, from Japan to Alaska, you get that crazy
The
diversity.
diversity. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Because if you
Which
went to
again, you
any,
won't get in a medical trial, because you
no.
might do it in, let's say, DC, where we want work with one of our favorite doctors in DC. If you do it in DC, there's only that many variety of body shapes and sizes you'll get, which is what, and ages. There's only that
Mhm.
many you'll get. Not people from 65 countries that we got. So yeah, so that's how
So
we
cool.
started. Yeah.
Ah, so I was going to make the parallel. I remembered what I was going to talk about. But you were saying, hey, the first time we know if it doesn't work, usually it never works the first time. And we're always trying to iterate and improve.
Mhm.
And so I was going to make the joke, that's kind of like introducing anything new in the bedroom or with
Yep.
your partner. You're going to
Totally.
have to explore it a couple more
Mhm.
times, sometimes just saying one and done. I want to challenge everyone to try something a couple times before
Mhm.
you completely say you don't like it or it's definitely not going
Yeah.
to work, not for you.
Yep.
Especially when you have that pressure off of you where you're like, I only get one try at this,
Mhm.
or my partner's only interested in trying this a blindfold once and then they hate it kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
more like, let's maybe just do it with this or
Mhm. Yeah.
experiment a little bit, just like how we
Totally.
build
I
great
agree.
toys.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
That's super
I
fun.
mean, nothing works first time anyway. Like,
No.
like hole in one is just a fluke,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
So I have this company and you were saying you love to come on podcasts, love to start the conversation just to create more awareness, more empowerment around sex and sexuality and sexual health in general. But if this isn't too personal to ask, how has your own personal intimacy and things improved because of this journey for yourself?
It's very cool because my wife and I started the company together with our third co-founder, Rob. So it's been our journey together and we've known each other since university. So we've been together for 18 years, and we started the company 8 years ago. So we were already together for 10 years. But as a 10-year-old relationship couple, we already knew that, if we don't do something to keep our bedroom exciting, it will literally disappear. And
Mm.
talking to our friends who are similar age to us, who have, and many of them have kids, everyone has exactly the same stories. How do you? Everyone assumes everyone else is having sex, but no one is.
Yeah.
And the thing is, unless you talk about it, everyone's like, oh, they look like they must be having sex every day, and you ask them, they're like, yeah, we haven't had sex in months.
Mm.
And that's the thing. And this is where we thought, hang on a minute, no one's having sex, but everyone wants to. Maybe we should do something about it. So that's how that's what my wife and I thought about.
Oh,
And
wow.
then Rob and I used to have our company before, my other co-founder, and he's also, he's been with his wife for 25 years. His
Oh,
son,
yeah.
he has a grandson now, so so he's gone through all of that. And and we had our Defense, the biometrics company, back in Bath, 18 years ago. So that's why we got together to start MysteryVibe. And personally for me, what has helped is, everything we write about is basically questions people ask,
Mm.
right? That's what we really write about. And
Yeah.
then we talk about it because, like, oh, that couple has the same question, do we have the same question? So I think the content side of it has helped us a lot, because people ask everything, when it's an anonymous email,
Yeah.
right? I don't know who you are on the other side of the email. People will ask you exactly what they want to talk about, which they probably wouldn't say anywhere else, and that has helped us, because it's still Shanshan, my co-founder wife, and I who read every single email and customer, because to us that is it's not that many. And that's the funny thing, even from our 100,000 users, we get maybe 20 or 30 emails a day. It's not that many, because most people don't really talk to sex companies. They just, they buy their product and then they never contact us again, sadly, right? We want them to contact us, but they're like, happy with my product, just use it and never
Hopefully
talk.
no news is good news, but with the people that bring you questions, you read,
Yes,
you go
exactly.
through.
We love it. And it's such a small part of a day. Maybe we spend half an hour a day, but it is so fascinating. When we can help someone, it's so great, and that also helps us think of those questions as a couple, like when it is relevant. So no, it's been great being in sex tech. What this is called, this industry is called sex tech internally, and talking to people, relating to other couples. Yeah. And the other thing I often get asked is whether being in sex tech desensitizes you to sex. I think it might be possible if you're on the visual side of it. If you're dealing with porn on a daily basis, it might. But what we do is, I must say, it's very boring in the sense that we do like engineering and electronics and anatomy and work with doctors, and of course there is a lot of sexual research, but it's not really any different from building hardware for health.
Yeah.
So it's not very sexy in that sense. It's just quite standard.
Yeah. Can
Standard.
research be sexy anyway?
Yeah, I mean, the content writing side is sexy because we like for example, we write about a question is, how do I introduce threesome into my relationship? We'll write about it. And we have many articles about it. How do I go to how do I look for a sex party? And all of that research is amazing, because we get to find out what actually exists. We try to write for different cities, like New York, Miami, Berlin, London, because people travel around, Caribbean cruise ships. So we try to find as much information as we can and put it out there, because that's what people need. They just need direction. A lot of them are curious. They just don't know where to find the direction. They're like, oh, I would love to check out a sex party. Yes, which one to go to? How do I find it? And Google's not that easy to figure out whether it's good or bad. Not bad, but might be just not that great. So how do you find that? And our
quality
way is just reaching out to people directly and asking them, tell us about your club. We want to write about you.
Cool.
And if possible, find out someone who's been there first-hand experience. And all of that is very sexy stuff. But yeah, that's a small part of what we do. Because in content we write everything, like how do you recover from prostate cancer, in which case we work with a doctor and write it. Important but not sexy, but equally, but a swinger cruise ship in Caribbean, very sexy. Maybe not that many people will read it, but yeah.
Fun.
So, yeah.
That's really fun. So you get the best of both worlds. Again, you can explore new topics and the safety and of your spouse also doing it along with you and kind of finding the same information you are. That's really fun. So I love that your website not only provides these devices and these toys and all of that, but also information, because that's so important to share the information, quality information. And what I always tell all of our listeners, I'm not the one-stop shop. Please go find more resources. Please go find, other things, because the more we have, the more awareness we have, the less fear and stigma is around. We can really have enjoyable sex lives as well. Soum, it's been wonderful to have you on. Again, you can find mysteryvibe.com, have all of that content. And you can email because Dr. Soum will be able to
We will
reply
read
to
it.
you all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
We will read it. Yeah.
wonderful. I'm kind of curious, any emails that you were like, this is something I've never heard of, and you had to do your own research?
Often.
Oh,
Honestly, often, because I think as sexuality becomes more open and more commonplace, especially in US and UK, a lot of questions people would never ask, even by email, people are asking now. So I feel like every year the depth of questions get better,
oh,
where
okay.
and often people can find the simple questions answered just searching, because now more and more content is coming out. So the questions we get are often a lot more nuanced, and like even the difference between having a threesome and being in a polyamorous relationship,
Yeah.
and navigating that, the latter. I think that wouldn't be a question as often asked, say 5 years ago, than it
Yeah.
is now.
That's
So
actually really
I
cool.
think, yeah, I
We're
think the depth
growing
of
as a
questions
society.
definitely um, gets better every year. Yeah.
Yeah. Any trends that you are seeing in the sex tech world?
Definitely more health. So if you think sex toys, even 10 years ago, it was very much purely novelty. That's what the word was. It was called a novelty product. And the idea was that it's a novelty that you have fun with, but it's not serious, right? It doesn't have to be designed seriously. It doesn't have to be taken seriously. And also a lot of the marketing around it would focus on it not being serious, being a novelty. So I think the biggest shift we see now in the last decade is people talk about wellness and health, and sex being part of your general health, like mental health is, which
Yeah.
again, 5 years ago, no one talked about mental health. Very, very few people talked about mental health openly, affecting them. They might talk about mental health generally, but 5 years ago, no one would go on Twitter and say, I had a really tough day.
Yeah, they didn't
I'm
model. Uh-huh.
yeah, like claiming their own, putting their own heart out there and saying, I'm really struggling with mental health, which now people feel safe to share. So because now the society knows mental health is part of your health. It's just one part of your many, it's no different from your gut health, from your skin health, from your ENT, ear, nose, throat. All of
Yeah.
these are just different parts of your health. And it's one is not any different or special, and they're all equally important. So I think we are at that point where most people acknowledge that sexual health is one of many parts of our health, and that's a significant shift from a decade ago where sex was a novelty.
Oh,
Right.
love that. Sex
Yeah,
was a novelty, or it was a means to bring in offspring. Like it was one or
exactly.
the
Yeah,
other. You
yeah,
lived in one party or the other. And
yeah,
love that
yeah.
we're
And
becoming more
something
aware.
very simple, just to bring it to life, is orgasms lead to better sleep. And that's one
Love that.
of 10 things I can think of, which is scientifically proven because of the hormones it releases. It's
Yeah.
not it is not a subjective opinion. It is an objective fact that
Yeah.
orgasms lead to better sleep. Orgasms need to lead to better immunity. So this is how we can prove beyond doubt that sexual health is intrinsically linked to your general health, which 10 years ago no one would talk about. They'd say, oh, sex is a separate thing that you do once in a while for fun or babies. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with your well-being.
well-being as a human, a holistic
Yeah.
human being that
Yeah.
has needs. Oh, love that. And I'm so excited to be part of that journey and that shift for the rest of our society. Thank you so much for fighting that good fight too, and being aware and filling a need for those who are looking for something, less pain, more mystery, whatever it is. I love that you were able to come on and chat with me about that. Anything else that's coming up for you that you feel like our listeners need to know?
We're back to being in conferences again after a 2-year hiatus. So we'll be in Ipswich this month, which is a sexual health conference, and we'll be in Urology Association conference in May. So basically, every sexual health conference in US, we'll be there. We used to always be there till Jan 2020, and then we had a 2-year break, and now we're back to being back in every sexual health conference and medical conference.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, welcome back. And I wish you safe travels to all of those conferences. And that's really exciting to be able to bring that again and talk to all those people who are looking for that missing gap, right? It's a thing that everyone's avoided for so many years. So wonderful. Thank you so much for joining. For all of you listeners, we are hitting up on our 100th episode. We are having a big 100 episode party celebration, May 28th. Tickets are on sale. So if you are in Utah or want to travel to Utah at the end of May, you are all welcome. Tickets are on sale on our website at saltysexcast.com. And for all of you listeners, you get $5 off by using the code ILISTEN. So ILISTEN. And please follow us on social media. Give us a like, a share. We absolutely love anyone who is willing to write reviews for Apple Podcasts and get the word out of what they can expect from listening. Thank you all, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Salty Sex Cast. Ready for round 2? Find us on Facebook.